meetings and platforms, both written and staged, like speeches before a public audience, about the ballot measure regarding strong mayor, really regarding the Oakland City Charter and changing it ostensibly to give a more responsive, or realize a more responsive government, I think. I say I think because there are those who believe that the mayor doesn't have enough power. And I find that almost to a person, those people who have that view, with a notable handful that don't fit this bill, like my god sister, Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, but many of them have no experience working in Oakland under both the current Jerry Brown style of strong mayor or the council manager form of government that we had, let alone were involved in any of the original discussions about how the city should be changed and what led to the eventual charter change that we have today. So, since I fill the bill as one who's worked for the city of Oakland since my first job as an intern to the Oakland Redevelopment Agency in 1987, I've got pretty good experience at explaining what's going on with Oakland government, why it doesn't work, and what should be done about it. Let me start with this. Oakland government has always been accused of not being responsive to the public. And the idea among those who held the office of mayor for a long time was, hey, look, I don't have veto power. I don't have a lot of power. This was the refrain of my boss, Oakland Mayor Elihu Harris. But Elihu would also say something to me on a regular basis, particularly as we were going over the city council agenda for the week. We would always meet at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Mondays to go over the agenda and essentially decide what the mayor's position was going to be. And Zenny could say, or rather, Elihu would say, Zenny, I can count to 5, all right? In other words, he knew that for some project or initiative he felt strongly about, he needed 5 votes. He could always count on his own, of course, but then he needed 5. He wanted 5 additional votes, and he knew how to get the votes when necessary. In other words, Elihu was able to, for the most part, thrive in an environment where he didn't have a great deal of structural power. But council manager form of governments are common throughout the country. And Elihu is not the only person who had that problem then or now. So how do people thrive in a council manager form of government who are mayor? How do you make the city go when it's your turn at bat? In other words, if you're in a situation like, for example, in Tracy, California, where they have a rotating system where a council member serves as mayor for a period of time, and then they go back to their council member seat and so on. Well, first of all, you establish relationships with people. You establish relationships with your council members. You don't run for office on the idea that you're going to flame one other council member, elected official, or that you have something against the other elected official. Politics still is about relationships as much as it is about money. And if you don't have the relationships, you can't get things done. So that's number one. I don't see people talking about the importance of relationships anymore. They only say, and particularly those who claim to be concerned about government responsiveness, that they want the mayor to have more power. Well, that objective was achieved by California's famous 2-term Governor Moonbeam, as some called him, I don't, Jerry Brown, who was our mayor from 1999 through 2 terms until he jumped over and became Attorney General for California in 2010. And so Jerry, or basically 2009, was Jerry's last, leader, right? So my point is that under Governor Brown, the system that he had convinced voters to back, primarily through a celebrity, was called Measure X. That was Oakland's first strong mayor system. Now, what you're going to say, I'm confused. They talk as if our current system is weak. Well, it's not. I would say I'm saying weak in terms of, you know, who has the power. Well, it's not. It actually is a strong mayor system compared to what we have. And I remember watching a segment on ABC from ABC News, local KGO, where Larry Beal is the news director now, longtime friend, who doesn't call, whatever. But my point is, but my point is that he's got a bigger job now. My point is that they made a piece last October that talked about the need for a strong mayor system in Oakland, and it was literally two segments in one. The first part said, Oakland's mayor has no power, can't do anything, can only preside over the budget, that sort of thing. And then the second part of the same segment, literally creating a different video, but it's all in one, okay? Said, the city administrator has the power and then serves at the pleasure of the mayor. It completely contradicted the first part of the same segment. It was nuts. And it had demonstrated that ABC didn't really understand Oakland's government to begin with. Otherwise, they would not have made a mistake that they all of a sudden had to correct mid-course, like, oh my God, I think we got this wrong. And they got it really wrong. The fact of the matter is that the mayor is the power, because the mayor has the city administrator as an at-will employee. Barbara could change city administrators anytime she wanted to, okay? She didn't do it. It doesn't matter that you would say, well, he knows where the bodies are buried. Justin Johnson does not know where the bodies are buried. He hasn't been there long enough. He doesn't know enough people intimately to be able to know every single thing that has gone on in Oakland, let alone all of the different pieces of legislation that we passed, the relevance to where we are today, changes in California law. He's a Georgia guy. He's from Atlanta, okay? He doesn't have that expertise, all right? And yet, he sits there as the city administrator, serving first by the selection of Oakland Mayor Shang Tao, and then reportedly he had to, the little secret out there was that he actually had to meet with the Duongs to get their blessing before Shang hired him. I haven't been able to confirm that, but I've heard that told to me from at least 3 different people. My point is, I have to keep asking around. My point is that he came in under the cloud of suspicion that comes with a person who, as mayor, managed to get her application for mayor time-stamped as if she got it in on time, when in point of fact, as cameras show, she got it in late. All right? Late. So from the jump, Shang Tao had no business being mayor, was rightfully recalled, and yet we're still dealing with the remnants of a system that she put in of people that ultimately were not good for Oakland and arguably corrupt, because they allowed her to do what she did, and those who questioned her, like, for example, I have to say this, my friend LaTonda Simmons, were pushed to the side and eventually fired, all right? And fired as Barbara comes in, and then she gets replaced when she should have been elevated and wasn't. And that's dirty. I don't care. No one else is talking about it. I will never stop talking about it, even if it's been a while since I've talked about it. I'm not done talking about it. That's wrong, all right? So here, by the work of Seneca Scott, tirelessly operated to get her Chang Tao recalled and succeeded in doing so. Here we are with now we get Barbara after a bruising battle between former Oakland District 6 Council member Lauren Taylor and Barbara Lee. As you know, last year we have the special election and Barbara emerges as the winner for mayor, as does the great, now we can say she's great, she was great then though, Oakland District 2 Council member Charlene Wong, all right? So here we are with a regime ran by Barbara, but Barbara, who is strong mayor, still thinks she needs more power. Barbara Lee does not need more power. She doesn't know what to do with the power she has. And if she doesn't know what to do with the power she has at this level, where she doesn't have to worry about counting to 5, what kind of mayor are we going to get if she has even more power? I will tell you, you'll get someone that makes snap judgment decisions, feels like everything has to be about them, and they're constantly getting their face out there, but they're not fixing the city. I say that because you're getting a taste of that person right now. And this is nothing personal against Barbara, save for one. And I will be transparent about it. Barbara has known me for a long time. She knows I'm out there. We talked about it during the, as she was running. I said, hey, look, I'm happy to work for you as economic advisor or head of economic development. Hire me. I put it out there because I can be the best economic development director the city of Oakland has had in decades. All right? You hear what I'm saying? Decades. I repeat, decades. All right? Because the people that we have hired to run economic development have no idea what it is. It's not studying the city. It's maintaining the health of businesses and bringing more businesses in and making sure that residents can live comfortably from an economic perspective in Oakland. If our economic development director isn't doing those 3 things, you need to get rid of them. Instead, what I've seen are economic development directors that we had ones that did studies, but the studies had nothing to do with the city and business, all right? It had everything to do with, okay, well, how many employees do we have? How many are doing X? And it's like, wait a minute, who asked you to do a city study? Okay, I swear that's exactly what was produced. This goes back, like, I would say now, back to when Libby was mayor, I would say roughly about 12 years or so. Couldn't believe it. And then it took them 7 years to trot out an economic development plan, which they finally did. And what I saw, which I have yet to critique on, is awful. All right? It is just absolutely awful. I'll get to the reason why it's awful later, because that's not what this video is about. My point is that the mayor Barbara does not understand that her job is to improve how the city functions. So, and that includes businesses. So when the Super Bowl is in the region, as Super Bowl 60 was, you don't go off and say, gee, you know what, we want the watch party for Super Bowl 60. You know, who cares, all right? Because people want to go to places where they know their friends are going to be, that it's inside and comfortable, and that they can have cocktails and food and everything else. They don't want to go to an outdoor party that where they're going to be encountering people they don't necessarily know. They're not on vacation. We're talking about Oaklanders, and the people who are on vacation, who are in town for the Super Bowl, are not going to be rushing over to Oakland to watch it because, frankly speaking, they are not here to visit Oakland, have undoubtedly been consumed by the number of bad episodes that have been communicated through the media about Oakland, and therefore would be a lost cause to even try to go to get. It was ridiculous to even think that way. Instead, what we should have done, and I wrote this last December, actually November, and I said, what we need to do is treat it as Super Bowl Restaurant Week. Like we have Oakland Restaurant Week, Super Bowl Restaurant Week. In other words, we say, hey, the Super Bowl is here on Super Bowl Sunday. Here are places we recommend you go that are having Super Bowl specials to commemorate that the Super Bowl is in the Bay Area and that Oakland is a proud part, a big part of the San Francisco Bay Area, right? So you can celebrate the legacy of the Raiders. There's all kinds of things that could have been done in the week, in the days of the week, 2 week Super Bowl period leading up to Super Bowl 60, promoting the businesses that you watch the Super Bowl at. Like, for example, The Athletic. Yeah, The Athletic on the corner of Webster and Grand. What happened just a week after Super Bowl 60? It closed. Why? Because they weren't getting enough patronage. That's why. That's why. We have business after business after business after business after business after business going all the way back to Le Cheval that have closed because the city wasn't doing its economic development job. All right? And so the problem with trying to change the charter is such that that's not going to fix what I'm talking to you about. What I'm talking to you about is a child of a lack of understanding of what makes cities work, of caring about Oakland, and acting appropriately to make sure Oakland moves forward. What we need is something outside the charter. We need an absolute Oakland Sharing the Vision meeting all over again that brings together 2,000 people to vote on or discuss and choose goals and objectives for the city. We did that in 1991 in October at the Oakland Marriott City Center, and that book set the tone for Oakland for the next 15 years in government. It was beautiful, okay? It was bringing people together. I agree, it was pre-internet, but we need it now more than ever in an internet environment where so many people are splintered. How do we unite people? By having events and functions that unite people. Oakland Sharing the Vision Part 2, or Part 2 if you like, is something that would do that. But changing the structure of the city in the way that suggests only benefits the mayor. It doesn't benefit the council. Oakland has had a history of powerful, both intellectually and also procedurally, city council members. I mean by procedurally is people who knew the city charter well enough to transcend the rules. Ignacio de la Fuente and his staff were particularly good at that when he was council member and president of the city council. And Louis Cohen was the person that really set the tone for that, okay? And really set the tone for it, okay? And so now we don't have that. The closest person we have that fits that bill is Iris Morons, who works for District 4 council member Johnny Ramakandran. So we are not at a place where the people who have the procedural understanding have the power to access to let me change that. Then she's not working for Barbara Lee, who should hire Iris, by the way, who would be able to allow her to instruct her better. All right, there's a disconnect there. But overall, the problem is that the city and the people who live in the city don't feel like they care about the city enough to get involved in the city. And Oakland sharing the vision would change that. It would establish new relationships. It would cement current ones. It would really excite people about what's possible and have people make a difference in the city in a way that they've never done so before. Uh, and that's really what we need. We need Oakland sharing the vision. And we don't need a change in the charter to put people through all this stern and drum and figuring out this new system yet again, only to realize that, hey, people are still getting murdered. Just had an awful murder the other day. Tell me how a change in the charter is going to stop that. It's not. It's not. I can make an argument, sure, that our council manager form of government was better, but there are people who want a more responsive mayor. I get it. Folks, you can have a more responsive mayor in the system that we have right now. But that's not really the problem. The problem is that the electorate doesn't care. The problem is that the people who work for the city don't care. You have people who work in economic development and also in housing who post on Instagram when they get a grant or something like that, but they don't talk about the people that they're serving, the businesses. They're not talking to us about this new housing project that's out there, or these new restaurants that are open, your current restaurants, or help that they need, or anything else, okay? They're not doing anything like that. By contrast, Hayward's economic development head does it regularly. And he's always talking about businesses, if he's still there, I haven't checked lately, but he still should be. But he's always talking about businesses that have opened, grand openings that are happening, or even if they're not grand openings, something interesting a business is doing that he thinks that you should know about, okay? And so that's vitally important to us, to have people who work for the city, who really care about the city more than caring about telling you what they did individually to get a grant. Hey, this is me doing my job. I got a grant. Oh, yay, but who did it help? And spotlight them. Tell us about the people that you serve. Don't tell us about you. I point this out on Instagram. They all get upset with me. I mean, not Instagram, but on LinkedIn. But this will be on Instagram anyway, so, my point is I point this out to them, and they get upset with me, and I point it on LinkedIn, okay? I don't care. You can get upset with me as you want to. Why don't you, instead of getting upset with me, focus on changing the problem? The problem is you. The problem is that you don't care about the city. You don't talk about the people who make up our city. And you express this every time you get on social media. It's always about you and what you got. You. Enough. And I'm telling you folks, that's why Oakland is not going to improve, and that's the major problem, and people don't get it, and it's going to go on and on and on and on and on and on and on without fail, okay? When is everybody going to get that you have to care about the city? You have to think, it means thinking about people other than yourself to make it happen, all right? This whole thing, this whole process is wrong. That's why I objected to Stephen Falk being involved in it, because this dude don't know Oakland, all right? And he gets criticized by a guy like me. Hey, he doesn't have enough, just to call and say, hey, Zenny, I disagree with you, but let's talk. Fine. But if I say that, hey, on LinkedIn, he'll give me a thumbs up, but does he call? Nope, not at all. And I'm not calling him, all right? And I'm not calling him because he started this whole thing. He calls certain people. I know who he calls, so they tell me. And I'm thinking, you know what? Heck with him. And now, as a friend of mine told me, he got pushed out of the way by Barbara. Okay? He has no business being involved in this. San Francisco Planning and Urban Research has no business being involved in this. I'm sick and tired of people from San Francisco infiltrating Oakland and making it feel like we're East San Francisco. And these include friends of mine who are dear friends who live in San Francisco. Great. But you know what? Connect Oaklanders, people who live in Oakland are the ones who need to be involved in Oakland. Activate them, all right? As opposed to coming into town and arranging it so you get paid by Oakland, you take the money to San Francisco, you spend it at a San Francisco restaurant, okay? That's not the way it's supposed to be, and I love you all, but I'm talking about saving my city. Oakland has to have an Oakland first attitude. But there are too many people now who work for Oakland, who don't live in Oakland at all. You're saying, Zenny, wait a minute, you're in Georgia talking about Oakland. Yeah, but I'm here for a different purpose. I'm here for my mother, okay? I'm not living someplace else just because, well, I prefer to live there rather than, okay? No. My situation is different. I'm open about it, okay? And I'll throw it right in your face whether you like it or not. You ought to be taking care of your folks too. Because a lot of people who put that criticism out are the last to take care of their folks, and you know who you're talking about, all right? So I don't want to hear it. My point is this, again, Oakland needs to take care of Oakland. We used to have hire Oakland first, all this stuff. And yet, it's no wonder we lost our sports teams. Our sports teams are a reflection of our culture. And so you immediately say, well, oh, gee, you don't like the Oakland Roots, Oakland Ballers. No, I do. But they're not major league. Is there an effort to make the Oakland Ballers an MLB expansion team? No. Should there be? Yes. Do we have the people in Oakland who think like that? No. Otherwise, they'd have done it already. Okay? No one is trying to do that. We're not trying to make Oakland bigger. I mean, you're literally like watching the city die on the vine, and then there are folks who like the Oakland Report, for example. I like what the Oakland Report does, but the Oakland Report forgets that, it's economic development that drives revenue for a city. All right? Economic development drives revenue for a city. Again, economic development drives revenue for a city. You guys at Oakland Report act like, hey, businesses don't matter. It's like, well, they're here. It doesn't matter how they got here or how many they died or what was done or that we have economic development. It's like maybe Oakland Report doesn't know what economic development is. Okay? I would think so. That's the impression I certainly get, and I love you guys. But I'm talking about saving our city. Okay? And I need you all to get out of your little intellectual comfort zone there and delve into areas you're not familiar with, like economic development, and say, hey, look, are we making Oakland better to grow our tax base, to get money in here so that we don't start talking about bankruptcy, all right? It's awful to have a situation where the city of Oakland had the once proud Lucas, and it's replaced by a cannabis dispensary. That's not the highest and best use for that corner of uptown Oakland. You know it, and I know it. So let's stop kidding each other. Let's start kidding ourselves and start getting to work about improving the city by having Oakland sharing the vision, first of all. We can determine the vision, vote on the vision, and then write the document to cement the doggone vision, and then make sure by an organization, a new Oakland sharing the vision, that this vision is implemented. That's what we need to do. Because we have a giant problem of folks not caring. They don't care. All right? That's the problem. Don't care. At all levels, don't care. It's all about me, me, me. And hey, there are good reasons for that. Housing costs. You need a job that pays you enough to live in Oakland, which is why it's stupid to really attack the unions. It really is dumb. It's dumb because the unions represent people who live and work in Oakland, who have some very hard jobs, which means you have working conditions that are less than desirable, and, suddenly you want to pay them a wage that you'd see someplace in San Mateo or Central California? Give me a freaking break. All right? Oakland is unique to Oakland. Deal with it. If we don't have enough to pay them, you want to know why? It's because our economy's growth sucks. That's why. And you all have done nothing to point that out. I talk about it all the time. All right? That front and center is what we need to straighten out. You need to keep your eye on the ball, get your eye in the right position. I'm going to keep it there. I don't care if cognitively grab your collective minds and say, move in this direction, okay? You gotta think about economic development and economic growth. You're not doing it, okay? You're not doing it. And for those of you who think, well, I can go and get a grant. Look, grants last once. That's the one-time thing. That's the, I call you guys the caulk people. You like put caulking in, cover up things. You want to caulk stuff. All right, forget it. You need to grow stuff. Go after businesses and bring them here. Use tax-exempt financing to get sports back in here at a large level, a major league level, so we can have major league events. Start a sports commission and start events like, hey, the Oakland International Tennis Tournament. Why not? Okay? Everyone in Bay Area loves tennis. I think. I know. All right? What about pickleball? Okay? Same thing. Where's there not an Oakland pickleball tournament? What about name the sport? We need those sports in Oakland. We need people doing those sports at levels high, medium, and low in Oakland. Sports commissions can make that happen. Sports is the tourism of the 21st century. It's something we still have the facilities to do. We just don't take care of them. That's what I was trying to explain to Nate Miley. Nate, you're not in the sports business, Alameda County Supervisor. You're in the facilities, development, and management business. It's a big difference. Huge difference. So there it is, folks. All right? We don't need a city charter adjustment. We need an attitude adjustment. We need Oakland sharing division. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube and bookmark ZennyReport.com. And also, I have another new site coming very soon. Right now, you got to check that one out very soon. I've got a new San Francisco site too. Yep, that's right. San Francisco News Now blog.com. Or if you like, San Francisco News Now.com is what it's called. Yeah. All right, we'll see ya.